Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Bluebird Merchant Ventures investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please just type in your questions at any time and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during today's call. However, the company review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll, and if you give that your kind attention, I'm sure the company will be most grateful. And I'd now like to hand over to Colin Patterson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mark. Thank you very much. Kick off straight away. I'm sure everyone wants to get on with their morning breakfast, etc. So starting off with who we are and what we do. We are an unusual company. We are different from the rest, and we bring historical companies, historically producing high-grade underground mines, back into production. We have a team that has been doing this kind of work for 30, 40 years plus, and we've done it very well. We don't believe there's another team in the world that does it better than us. I'm sure you've all read the disclaimer. So as you know, we're listed in London, and the type of projects that we focus on are ones that are low capex, high-grade mines, and we can get into production quickly. All three of our projects, which are listed on the screen there, the KOCHANG, GUBONG, and BATANGAS mine, are all in that category. They're all mines that any one of them could be a great success for this company, and obviously all three of them put together make it a pretty good package of companies. We have already defined a path to 60,000 ounces. We're well on our way to getting there. Other than getting a mountain use permit for KOCHANG, that's the one and only thing that's holding us at the moment, but we should be receiving that in the next 2 or 3 months. The team, as I mentioned, has had years of experience all over the world, rehabilitating mines, bringing mines back into production, and making it a very profitable exercise. We have yet to fail on any of our projects that we have tackled. As you can see on the slide there now, the two projects on the left-hand side, I don't know if you can see my cursor, the GUBONG project and the KOCHANG project in South Korea, and then over on the right in the Philippine area, blown up just below Manila, we have the BATANGAS project. So, as mentioned, we like things to be de-risked and easy, and we do have a defined path to production. The first mine that we're going to tackle is the KOCHANG mine, and followed very closely thereafter the GUBONG mine. So we need to fulfill the license commitments, which is the temporary mountain use permit. We're then going to get proof of concept at KOCHANG very soon thereafter. And we will then move into a 7,000 to 10,000 ounce production at KOCHANG, generating cash, and then ramp up the production there at KOCHANG and use the funds from that to get GUBONG up and running. The one in the Philippines, the BATANGAS project, which is a brilliant project, was the original project of this company that we listed. Did the initial IPO some years ago, and unfortunately, due to political situation in the Philippines, the previous government was anti-mining, so we put it on a back burner. The new government is now keen on mining, and as you know, we have just recently announced an extension to our project, which the government gave us. And we are in advanced discussions now with a local partner here in the Philippines to basically run that project and fund it as well to the point of construction. We should hopefully make announcements to that effect of that agreement with this Philippine company within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Hopefully the lawyers don't hold it up any longer than they are at the moment. But the whole idea of giving this out or farming it out to someone else is so that we can concentrate on the South Korean projects. Korea is a great place to work. It's also a place that used to do a lot of gold mining. As you can see in the graphic down there, prior to the, or during the World War II, it got up to nearly 350,000 ounces of production. After the war, it stopped and then rebuilt itself before finally President Park decided to make Korea a country that focused on tech. And they've done a great job at that. But now recently, as you can see at the end here, mining is coming back to Korea, and the government is doing great things to try and support and cooperate with mining companies. For example, they don't ask for any royalty. It's the only country in the world that I know that don't ask for royalty. They subsidize regional drilling 80%. They subsidize environmental projects such as wetlands and the likes of that. So very encouraging and a nice country to work in. Lovely people and a great country. If you haven't been there, definitely make plans to get there. So the KOCHANG project, as you can see there in the diagram to the right, has got a strike length of some 2.5 kilometers. We're only looking at this little area up here at the moment, and there's enough ground there to keep us going and generate cash for quite a while. As you can see in that very first point, it did already produce 110,000 ounces of gold at an amazing 19.6 grams per ton, plus 5.9 million ounces of silver at 1,000 grams per ton. So as you can see, it is a high-grade mine. It has 4 steeply dipping veins, and we've accessed these main veins, and we've done a fair amount of face sampling, face chipping, and reassessed the resources there that were originally estimated by KORES being the organization in Korea that authorizes mineral resource statements, similar to JORC, I guess. To be fair, it's not to the high standard. But anyway, we went in and we know that KORES had already determined a certain amount of mineral resource in the KOCHANG mine. And by getting in there and getting to the face, getting our hands dirty, we were able to verify those grades and those tons. So we were pretty chuffed about that. So basically, we have a lot of faith in the KORES resource statements, although we can't obviously state them as JORC standard mineral resources. As you can see, it's not very deep. In fact, most of the workings are all above adit level, going into the side of the mine, so very little is going on below, and it's got great potential at depth in this area, but more so down here in the south vein, as you can see, that's where the silver mine was, and then there's this big chunk of about 600 meters in the middle that has yet to be properly explored and opened up. So a lot of blue sky in the area as well. I'd like to just go through these points on the left in the blue box there, because this is our model, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again because it's important that you understand we are quite different from other companies. We're not an explorer. We're not a miner per se. We are someone that does things quite differently. We hunt the world looking for high-grade opportunities. We need opportunities that have good data that we can verify from going underground and seeing where these working places are and where the grades are. It should have great resource potential, obviously. We like places that have got good access. We're not in favor of helicopters and trekking through jungles and the likes of that. We like to drive up to the back door. And in all three of our projects, the BATANGAS in the Philippines and the two projects in South Korea, essentially we drive up on sealed roads to the front and the back door of each of those projects. But we like things to have established infrastructure. We don't want to have to spend large sums of money putting infrastructure in, such as power, water, and the likes of that. And in all of our cases, again, all the infrastructure is right there at the back door. Obviously, we like to do things that have got a low capex, so we don't like going for things that have got high refractory ores or require complicated mining methods and or processing methods. So, for example, the two mines that we have in Korea, we're looking just purely at vat leaching there. Very simple, very cheap, very quick to get going. And we're getting enough recovery from that to make quite a lot of money. Obviously, the stuff the gold that is left behind, and it is reasonably high, would be reworked at a later date. And obviously, high margin is the name of the game for us. And again, all three mines have high margins. The reason why we're going for KOCHANG first is it is the smaller of the two in Korea. GUBONG is certainly the company maker, but KOCHANG is the easier of the two. Get the access to the mine is very simple. We have already accessed over 1 kilometer of tunnels. We've been into the stopes and climbed around and assayed and sampled. The community there, very supportive of what we do. And as you probably saw in an announcement earlier this week, there's been a leasing deal done on land, which will allow us to continue with the mountain use permit. To get a mountain use permit, basically they want to know which land are you going to use. So we had to get a lease agreement for that. And that was probably the biggest challenge for us to do. And it came through with flying colors with the full support of the local community. So that's a little bit more on KOCHANG for those that want to come back and look at this in more detail. It has lots of blue sky. And as you can see, a lot of those purple marks showing high grades, 30 meters at 3.8 grams per ton and stuff like that. I'll move on. So just to quickly take you through the path to production at KOCHANG is the first one there, apply for the temporary mountain use permit, which we expect to get by the end of the year, if not due to Christmas and the likes of that, early next year. We will then refurbish the mine. 3 weeks is probably on the optimistic side, but refurbishing shouldn't take too long. We've already done a lot of work there already. Stockpiling the ore. Basically, there's a lot of ore on the ground and in the stopes that we can initially use to do proof of concept. So there's no breaking of rock, there's no blasting or anything like that. It's just basically pulling out the stuff that the old timers left behind and bringing it out to surface and putting it through a small crusher, screen, and into a vat. Once we've done the proof of concept, obviously we prepare for full mining, which will be 4 months, and then to complete construction another 6 to 9 months. And then we're looking at increasing production to build up to 2,500 ounces per quarter or 10,000 ounces per annum at about 5 grams per ton. That will generate cash, which will allow us to spend more money on the GUBONG project, which here we have some pictures of the old mine in GUBONG, which it was the second biggest gold mine in Korea. And it was estimated to have mined over 1 million ounces. And I certainly believe that there's at least that left behind at high grades. So it's done 25 levels of development. and which adds up to some 120 kilometers of tunneling underground. So it's an amazing project. It will ultimately be the company maker. We know, for example, that at the bottom of the mine this mine consists of multiple flat dipping veins, but veins number 5 and 6 joined together and were apparently being mined at 20 grams per ton over 2 meters. Obviously, we can't verify that until we get down there. The type of deposit is an orogenic deposit, which speak to any geologist will tell you that these things go to great depth. So we're currently at a depth, in fact, probably less than 500 meters at the moment. So a long way to go. And there's a lot of blue sky at GUBONG. On the right here, we show you the area that we have in the green blocks. The area in the center here, where you can see all the little squiggles and worms, is the development, is the 120 kilometers of development that I just spoke about, where the mining was done. So the bottom of the mine is where my cursor is. I hope you can see my cursor, but if not, I'm sure you can imagine where it is. There's a little purple box there, and if you've got good enough eyes, I'm trying to see it myself to tell you the truth, it's 1.8 meters at 27.9 grams per ton, which is a hole that intersected below the lowest level, and which shows the immense potential that this project has. There's huge, if you look in this block up here, which is the inset there, if you look at that block up there, you can see great big gaps all over the place where the old timers left it behind. They obviously mined these very high grade chutes, but these other areas were running at 3, 4, 5 grams per ton, and they left it behind. So that's why we are confident that there's plenty of ground to be had when we get into GUBONG. I saw somebody just put up an arrow there, so obviously you can't see where my cursor is. So my apologies for that.
No problem, Colin. I can draw an arrow there if you need to. Just let me know.
No problems. I'm sure people are, if they're not following, please just ask questions and we can come back to you with diagrams and arrows, etc., etc. So as I said, this is the company maker, and it is the one we will tackle after we've been successful at KOCHANG, where we've debugged all the issues and problems. So when we get here, we're going to hit the ground running at GUBONG. Its strike length is 1.5 kilometers on strike and 1.8 kilometers down dip. So it is huge. And that the area we have is much bigger than that. And we know that there's potential for that to get even bigger still. In fact, the very bottom comment there, original extent is 3 to 4 kilometers. So on the GUBONG one, so we have to dewater level 1, which is not a big job. We've got 3 months there. I actually think it'll take 1 month or less. There's not a lot of water there. Refurbishing the adit and getting in there, I agree that would probably take 3 months. Sampling and surveying, which is our way of exploring. We don't waste money on drilling the place out. Why would you do that when you're going to get in there and actually touch the stuff, touch the working faces where the ore is, and be able to chip away and take as many samples as you want instead of just having one simple drill hole intersection. We'll then commence stockpiling similar to what we're doing at KOCHANG, build the plant, and then sort of 18, 24 months later be in production, looking at 25,000 ounces going up to as much as 60,000 ounces per annum. The expected cost per ounce, all-in cost per ounce, when I say all-in, I mean everything, including taxes and, well, there are no royalties, but any other costs that may be around, sustaining capital being one of them, the all-in cost would be sub 800 US. So we're pretty confident that we will make money on. Grade is king, and both both the projects in Korea have got excellent grade, and so does BATANGAS, which is what we're moving on to now. And as I mentioned, BATANGAS, we will be passing this on to a very well-known team of people here in the Philippines who will pay for and manage the project on our behalf for an earning, which we are currently negotiating. There's been something like $20 million worth of exploration done on this area. It actually does have a JORC resource of some 36,000 ounces at 6.6 grams per ton. So it is a really nice little project, and it's certainly one that we were very excited about when we started the company off quite a few years ago. Unfortunately, due to that political situation that I mentioned, it had to go on the back burner. That's back on front now, and we would hope to monetize the value of this through this partnership that we have with the Philippine company. For those that aren't aware, in our books, we have written this project down to zero because of the previous government situation. We didn't know if we would ever get the chance to get this thing going again, but we're thrilled that we can. And we're pretty sure that the Philippine company has what it takes to make this thing happen. So just to sum up the parts again, so what do they say? Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So here we go on the third part of that. KOCHANG, estimated non-JORC resource of about 200,000 ounces. Historical capex estimation of the infrastructure that's already in the mine has been put at about 5 million. Seriously, I would regard it much higher than that. Production target initially is 10 to 12, but we do believe it can potentially go as we open up the area and get into the down the strike there, potentially take it to 20 or 30,000 ounces. And it's comparatively simple to reopen, and that's the reason why we're starting with that one first. Let's do the easy stuff first, low fruit, as they say. And then once that's going, we'll be climbing into the company maker, which is GUBONG, and that's got an estimated resource of about 1.3 million ounces. The historical capex there has been put at a greater than 20 million, and that's 120 kilometers of tunneling. I can tell you now, 120 kilometers of tunneling is worth a lot more than 20 million. But anyway, we're being conservative. Production target is 60,000 ounces per annum, and in the longer term, 100,000. It's, as I mentioned when I was talking through it, it's open at depth and at strike, as is KOCHANG. And the BATANGAS project, the resource at the moment is estimated about 440,000 ounces, of which 36,000 is already in JORC resource. Exploration expenditure to date to 20 million. That was by the previous company before we bought it off them. There's a lot of green blue sky potential there as well. So just a comment at the bottom there about on the 27th of November 2020, an independent expert valued the project at some, where's the figure? Well, 50% of it. So 22 million is what they valued the whole project. This is the KOCHANG and GUBONG projects. And this was done to facilitate the purchase of the two projects from, well, the remaining 50% of the two projects from Southern Gold. And as you're all probably aware, we paid that 11 million in some 200 million shares of BLUEBIRD, which made Southern Gold our biggest shareholder. They are very supportive and cooperative. In fact, next week, myself and the COO to Korea, not tomorrow, Sunday. And we will be meeting with the CEO, Rob Smiley, to discuss how we can continue to cooperate and work together with these projects. I might add that 22 million that was determined by the independent expert was done at a gold price of 1,400. It was then discounted by 90%. Oh, sorry, the discounted cash flow was done at 15% discount, and then a further 90% discount to arrive at that figure. So as you can see, our market cap is nowhere near what we actually paid for that project. So final slide. Oh, sorry, there might be one after this. What is the last one? That's a good one. Okay, well, that is the final slide. Final slide, again, just to recap, we have two low capital expenditure mines, both high grade, and we have got extensive proven historic data, and we can easily upgrade the resource. We estimate that there could be as much as 1.5 million ounces. I actually believe in time there'll be more than that. And initial production of 60,000 ounces probably in the next 4 to 5 years, and then thereafter growing to 100,000. We have a very rapid defined route to production. And I suppose I'd just like to focus on that one a little bit there. Unlike exploration companies, and people tend to compare us to exploration companies. So an exploration company that had this, a pure exploration company, if they had these projects, they would probably be coming to shareholders and saying, hey, give us 5 million and we'll drill this thing out and we'll prove it up to JORC or 43101. And then we'll come and ask you for more money so we can do a feasibility study, and then we'll ask you for some more money and to build a plant and to get into the mine and this, that, and everything else. That's what I suppose the traditional route to getting the mine up and running would be. Our way is give us the 5 million and we'll just get stuck into the mine. We know it's there. We've done this time and time again all over the world. We've always been successful. These projects are probably, in terms of the other mines that we've operated worldwide, are better than, well, let's say, I would say they're in the top 10 to 15% of the mines that we've worked on as a team in the past. So we're damn confident that we can make money out of this, and we don't need to waste money drilling out resources, et cetera, et cetera. As you probably are aware, management have put a lot of their own money into this company, over $2 million of our own money, plus sweat equity, which right throughout the COVID period and the things like that, when companies needed to keep it tight, and we did, none of our team have taken any cash for salary at all. So just moving on from that point, projects have got excellent infrastructure. As I say, you go when I go there on Sunday, basically you catch the bullet train down to Daejeon and then hire a car Daejeon. It's a 1.25 hour drive to GUBONG, or a 1.75 hour to KOCHANG. And we base ourselves in GUBONG for the time that we're talking to the various local governments, and of course Southern Gold is based there as well. As mentioned, we have a lot of upside from BATANGAS. The monetization of something is written down to zero in our books at the moment. And the last point, and probably the most important part, is that we have a team of guys that have excellent experience, done it time and time again, and there's no reason why we can't do it again. That was my last slide, and I will ask for questions.
That's great. Colin, thank you very much indeed for updating investors this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But just while Colin has a few moments to review your questions submitted already, I'd like to remind you the recording of today's presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, will be available via your Investor Meet Company dashboard. We'll notify you when that's ready. Colin, I haven't given you any time really, but that said, you've received a number of questions ahead of today's presentation, a number of questions today. So thank you firstly to everybody for your engagement. Colin, could I just ask you to open up that Q&A, and if possible, could I ask you to read out the questions and just give a response where it's appropriate to do so, and I'll pick up from you at the end.
Okay, so first question, Why are you so different from an exploration company? I think I did explain that pretty well in the presentation, but we are different. We don't spend money on exploration. We are not explorers. We do not have geologists, although we have some very good friends who are very good geologists who help us when we need it. But essentially, we are operators. That's all we've ever done in our lives. And we know how to make mines work, even mines that have been closed down. And we've done it time and time again all over the world. The second question I've got here, what makes the two South Koreans so attractive? Well, grade is king. There's no question about that. Grade is king. When these mines closed down, the gold price was sub 100. And in fact, I think one of the mines closed down when it was at $35, the old gold standard in those days. We know that, and it's from not only from Korea, but from other experiences around the world, that old timers left pillars, left dirt on the ground that to them was not payable. And we know it is very payable. So we see the two projects in Korea as great projects for basically grabbing the stuff that the old timers left behind, which have also developed for us. Thank you. I'll move on to the next question. Can you talk about the grade in comparison to other gold projects? Well, I suppose the only gold projects that I could really talk about are the ones that myself and my team have involved ourselves with. I guess probably the most recent one where we did a good job was the Apex mine in the Philippines, where we bought, with the help of a consortium, the mine for some $7 million, and then 2.5 years later sold it for, well, we didn't sell it, we had a firm offer for $180 million. So it shows you what can be done by fixing up old mines. You get quick reactions from other companies. But the grade at the Apex mine was 4 or 5 grams, so similar to the ones in Korea. However, the Apex mines were deeper, hotter. The ground conditions were terrible, very loose hanging wall, and at times even dangerous could be regarded. Certainly some areas where they had almost mudslides, yet we still made a good turn of those ones. Another comparison would be the Emperor mine, where Charlie and I worked for a number of years. We took it over from Western Mining when Western Mining were walking away. And in fact, the guy who handed over the keys to my office, the general manager from Western Mining, said, "Enjoy shutting the mine down." Anyway, that mine today is still going. And we got that company up from a 50 million Australian market cap when we took it over. And when Robert Friedland came and joined us, he saw the benefits there. The price went up to 350, 400 million Australian dollars. So again, it shows you what you can do with those sorts of mines. And again, the grade at Emperor would have been very similar to what's in GUBONG and KOCHANG at the moment. I'll move on to the next question. You say you've put capital in. How much is this? Well, enough to make my pocket burn. And will you put in more? If I have to, sure. Or if we have to as management, sure we will, if we really have to. But we have already put in a lot of our own sweat and effort and work, and a lot of hard cash as well. So I would say it would be in excess of $2 million to date, if not more. Next question is South Korea a good gold producing country? Well, if you go back through those slides in more detail, you'll see that at one stage there were 200 operating mining companies or mining operations in Korea at one stage. So it's not huge one like Australia or America or China or anything like that. However, it does have quite a lot of gold mining there. And if you ask Southern Gold, they will tell you it's a great area to find big deposits, big gold deposits. So we think it's a good place. I'll move on to the next one. The valuation of the KOCHANG and GUBONG was 22 million at a gold price of 1,400. Why do you think the company is trading at such a big discount? Beats me. Good point. It shouldn't be. We do have magnificent project there. I think the 22 million that it was valued at undervalued it. Obviously, the gold price of 1,400, and then at the discount of 15%, and then another 90% off that, definitely undervalued that. And of course, our market cap doesn't even reflect that amount. So all I can say is the sentiment in the markets generally, not even gold sector, all sectors, down. Gold price not helping us at the moment. And of course, every one out there is wondering where the hell are we going to get money to get this thing up and running. So I guess thinking that we're going to do a cheap placement, well, I can have news for them. That's about the last thing they'll do. Okay, then the next one, the company has very little cash left in the bank. Explain how you will pay, well, let me move my cursor, pay for wages and equipment to bring KOCHANG into production. Okay, yeah, we do have very little cash, but initially we have enough to get our permitting, get the temporary use mountain permit in place, after which we do have a facility with a line that would get things going pretty nicely, certainly buy the initial equipment, storage in the area, etc. And yeah, at that point, or while we get into that point, we would have to look at the multitude of options that we have in front of us, including things like streaming, crypto, which is the next question I see, partnerships, joint ventures, mergers, project finance from Korean funding institutions, but least of all, a placement, because at these prices, certainly management that own some 30% of the company do not want to dilute what we've worked so bloody hard for, and we don't want to dilute that, that's for sure. So that would be an absolute last resort effort to put money into the company. We think there are a multitude of other ways we can do it. The next question sort of touches on one of them. There was a finance agreement with crypto company, Oric Network, in South Korea. Is this money still safe and available for withdrawal? So the deal's still there. However, those who follow the crypto market would know that it isn't doing too well. And if a company doesn't have it, they don't have it. So I guess if crypto turns around, the deal's still there and the money will come our way. They already advanced us about $250,000, which is payable from future production at a gold price that's got a small discount to it. So yeah, it's still there. It's still there. We haven't said no to it, and we haven't taken action against them for underperformance, because there's no good doing that. You never know. They might come jumping back in a year or two. Who knows? Okay, your recent accounts say due to very little cash left, you're not a going concern. How do you hope to address this? Is this your only option, placing at lower prices? Well, I've already said no, we won't be placing at lower prices. Almost the last thing we'd do. And yeah, sure, you look at just about every exploration company out there, very few companies actually have the money that they need to do the next 12 months of work, and there's always a plan to raise it or do whatever. And you'll see numerous company audit reports that particular statement, which is a fairly stock standard statement for junior and or exploration companies. Of course, we'd told our auditors that we intend to get KOCHANG up and running and maybe even a little bit of a GUBONG. And of course, they said, well, you haven't got the money for that. Of course we don't. And that's what you have to put in your accounts to be transparent and open. That's life. Moving on to the next question, what value can you attribute to BATANGAS? Well, as I mentioned, 20 million had been spent on the company for exploration. There was a net present value calculated by the previous owners, which I don't recall exactly, but it was more than 20 million. And I guess we purchased it for just under 2 million. So what value would I hope to get out with this deal with our Philippine company? Well, I think they will make it successful. I think they will get the value that was predicted. And that, by the way, at that time, the gold price was $1,400 when they did the net present value calculation. So if we get 10 million, I'd be very happy. But it's a tough question to answer that one until we see what actually happens. Certainly, you want more than 2 million. Why should I buy now? Well, it hasn't been cheaper, and we're about to take off. So, yeah, now's the time to buy. I can't. And I think gold, hopefully, is going to help us in the very near future. I'm a bit of a gold bug. We have a great team of guys, great projects, and things are happening now. Our Southern Gold happy with the rate of progress since they became your major holder? Well, COVID held us back. We weren't allowed into the country. And in fact, when I went back in June this year, I was, I think, almost one of the first people allowed back in Korea. So we haven't held back getting there. And certainly now that there's no more COVID restrictions, things are happening. As I mentioned previously, Southern Gold are cooperative, and we get on well with Rob Smiley. So I guess I'll know more after meeting with him and his team next week. Then we have the company has very little cash left. Where are the funds coming from to start KOCHANG development? I think I already answered that. Will BLUEBIRD require funding to allow it to begin production at KOCHANG? Again, I think I've answered that one. Next question, where and by who will ore from various projects be processed and refined? So the first project, as I mentioned, is the KOCHANG project. We would certainly process it to some form of a concentrate, at which point we will be looking to get that concentrate toll treated somewhere. In fact, when I'm there next week with Charlie Barkley, we are planning to meet up with a local Korean gold company that could potentially toll treat that for us to get our first gold of concept, proof of concept gold.
That's great. Colin, I think you've been very generous, and I think you fired through all those questions. There were a couple of a similar nature, which I think you covered off as well. So, Colin, thank you very much indeed for being so transparent with those Q&A, and thank you once again to everybody for submitting their questions. Colin, if any more questions do make themselves available via the platform, we'll send those to you after today's meeting. I just wondered, Colin, I know that investor feedback will be important to you and to the company, and I'll shortly redirect investors on the call to give you their feedback. But I wondered if I may, just before doing so, Colin, ask you just for a few closing comments. and then I'll redirect investors to give you their feedback.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I'll finish off by saying we're a good team of guys. We've done it before. And I still say I know of no other team that does it as well as what we do. We have great projects there with very low capital expenditure. And we will get things going there much faster than any exploration company could do, and certainly a lot cheaper than most mining companies can do. I see Barry Kay has put a question about changing the name. It is a thought, and maybe we will in time to come, just to reflect that we are quite different from everybody else.
That's great, Colin. Thank you very much indeed. I think, as you say, Barry's question just came in, and I think there's a question from John that we can address post today's call. Colin, thank you once again for your time this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, could I please ask you not to close this session, as we'll now automatically redirect you for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can really better understand your views and expectations. Please, this will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Bluebird Mention Ventures, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. Good morning to you all.